Well, hello there, everybody. So, welcome back, everybody. It's your buddy Orange Hat wearing a different hat today. And we are going to be doing another theme stream for Tuesday. We are doing ones versus twos this month. I did 300 versus 300 Rise of the Empire last week. And now it is The Shining versus Doctor Sleep. So, yeah, here we go on that one. The Shining versus Doctor Sleep, folks. Gotta say, I just watched these movies, Shining last night and Doctor Sleep today. I watched the director's cut, the full extended edition to Doctor Sleep, which is around 3 hours. It's actually 3 hours long. Um, and I gotta say, there are some pretty worthy comparisons here. So before I get into the comparisons and how this thing goes, if you want to support my channel, want to help out my channel, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. It's all the best ways to support the channel. I'm not really in this for the money. I'm doing it to help inform people, to help people learn about what goes on in Hollywood and movies and whatnot. And I like to do these little comparisons as well to help get the channel going. I do political commentary every now and then when it crosses over into the entertainment business. Um, I also do pure politics sometimes in my shorts, my YouTube shorts, and sometimes, or when it comes to my Friday night streams, I do pure politics and what goes on in the world. So if you like my political side, that's where you can find most of my political side. Normally, or every Sunday is my weekly recaps where I cover 4 articles of importance going on in Hollywood. Tuesdays are the theme streams. This month it is ones versus twos. Wednesdays this week and next week are going to be the ones and twos with my friend Jade Shadow on her channel. My friend Mara and I will be discussing the Leprechaun movies 1 and 2. And for the singles, on Thursdays on my channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, we will be discussing 13th Warrior this time, or this Thursday, and next Thursday will be 47 Ronin with Keanu Reeves and Hiroyuki Sanada. So those are that's the schedule for this month. And I will let you all know what next week's ones versus twos is at the end of this stream. So make sure that you watch all the way through so that you will be able to know what I will be doing. So as everybody who watches my channel or who has been paying attention to my channel up to now, for all you new folks who are new to the channel, when I do these versus streams between the movies, I look at things like story, cast, writing, effects, acting, leads, music score, or music or the score, like either the background music, the soundtrack, the score, and whatnot, the director, and the budget. And in between, I will show you the score in between the categories. So we will start things off by saying hello to the chat before we get to story. So saying hi to the chat, let's say hello to Vanya. Good to see you. Dr. Sleep is an amazing movie and should win. We will see, because I don't do scripts, folks. I do this off script because I find scripts to be limiting. Yes, they're to the point, but I do find them to be limiting because they also are lacking in authenticity. Neozoic, howdy orange, and folks in the front or in the chat, fun question. What would Goku or Gohan and Aang from Avatar, The Last Aang? I have no idea, man. I'm trying to keep it on topic. But to answer this question, to be nice about it, I think that all three of them would find interest in talking with each other because they are all happy-go-lucky people for the most part. So yeah, that's what I think about them. And well, Goku would most likely want to challenge Aang a little bit to his or to spar, no doubt, considering he's the Avatar and whatnot. But yeah, Junebug, hello, hello, hello. Good to see you, man. So that is everybody. And so now moving on to the story. Now, the story for The Shining, these are books based off of the paddle writer Stephen King. I don't pay attention to the writing of the books. I pay attention to the writing of the films. Stephen King is a disgusting person in real life. I mean, have you read his book, It? The ending of that book is extremely disgusting if you really do pay attention to things like that. And I do find that to be extremely disgusting. So, when it comes to things like writing and the story and whatnot, the story of The Shining is more condensed. It's condensed, meaning it's not worldly or stretched out beyond a certain setting. The setting, which is the Overlook. And Dr. Sleep is beyond life beyond the Overlook. It is after the Overlook has been shut down, condemned, and whatnot. So, where the story is well done in pure Stanley Kubrick fashion, the version or Dr. Sleep is more outspread, shows you that the world or that the paranormal exists beyond the Overlook and how the world exists beyond the Overlook, the hotel, where the Overlook is in itself a presence, an evil presence. It is sentient, due to its buried on top of Indian burial ground origin in the movie. So yeah, shocker. Thank you, Junebug. Nice newsy hat. Thank you so much. It's a this is a newsboy hat. It's an Irish newsboy hat. So yeah. And it's orange. So yeah. And thank you, Vanya. Look stylish. Yeah, thank you. So when it comes to the story being condensed, that can have its pros and it can have its cons. The story basically shows the slow building of madness and possession of Jack Torrance. Jack Torrance is a father who was a teacher until he accidentally broke his son's arm, and then he had to fall back on writing, and he got the job to basically overlook the Overlook. He was the property and grounds master to watch over the Overlook in the off season to keep it up, to make sure that it's still working, so that when people come back, they can still use it. Um, when it comes to the other story, which is Dr. Sleep, it's life beyond the Overlook. However, they do return to the Overlook. The Overlook is used as a plot device in the second one as a mere setting, but still very much alive, where it is also spread out throughout the United States, where there are these nomadic feeders that feed on people's psychic abilities. And they are hunting down this very powerful young psychic girl. And we also see the continuance of Danny Torrance's life after the events of The Shining, from childhood to adulthood. His fall, his down on his luck life, where he is basically having to recover from alcoholism, which his father did. And now also he makes a friend psychically with this girl. He has no idea who the girl is, but after a while he meets her and it's like, yikes, because he's like, especially today, I mean, what would it be like, or what are people going to think where an 11-year-old girl and an adult are talking like this, you know? And she's like, I'm Amber Stone, you're my uncle. And it's like, good cover. So yes. But or so having these more outward story can be a little bit more can be a little bit more bet or more of a draw for a movie where if you like the horror condensed films, which is exactly what The Shining is, it is far more horror and condensed, but it is also a very slow pace. Where Doctor Sleep, as long as that movie is at full 3 hours, the full full extended version is 3 hours long. You get a good even pace in that movie where the story for The Shining is very uneven. It is like driving in San Francisco with all those fucking hills and whatnot. I mean, it's like a roller coaster, but it's a roller coaster of boredom if you are or if you are caught not paying attention because it's like Jesus Christ, when is something interesting going to happen? And then when it starts to happen, it's like, okay, now my interest is peaked. But then it falls to rancor again. It starts to get a little bit boring again. And you're starting to wondering what the fuck are you doing in this theater? And okay, something good is happening again. Finally. Oh, Jesus, now here we go again. It is like a person on life support whose heartbeat is like beeping very slowly, you know? However, that being said, I still enjoy The Shining. It's a movie that I can watch at least once a year. Doctor Sleep, however, I can revisit that like twice a year or 3 times a year at most. So when it does come to the story, having it be more widespread and returning to the Overlook, returning where it all freaking affected Danny Torrance, because this is Danny Torrance's life in Doctor Sleep, as well as uh, young Abra's life. Abra is actually the character's first name. Her name is Abra, which is pretty cool. Now, as the score for the first scoring, it is going to be Doctor Sleep gets the story. So moving on to the next one, which is the cast. But before we do, let's get to the chat. How would I compare The Shining with other Kubrick films, such as 2001: A Space Odyssey? I heard that was actually pretty good for its time. A Clockwork Orange, Jesus, man, that movie is fucked up. Full Metal Jacket, I heard was actually very good. Doctor Strangelove, I haven't heard much about it. Paths to Glory, I haven't heard much about that one. But with A Clockwork Orange, I know that Stanley Kubrick has that uneven balance, which is a slow build to something bigger. However, when it does come to The Shining, the compare it to Dynamite with an overly long wick, an overly long fuse, where you light that fuse and it's building and building and building and building, and fucking hell, why are we still watching this thing burn up? And then we get to the end and it's a big old fucking holy shit, you know? So yeah, when it does come to the story, I believe that The Shining is a good movie. Clockwork Orange is a good movie, as fucked up as it is. Kubrick has a style that very few people can really absorb and enjoy. So extra read all about it, Orange. Another video. Yeah. Spartacus is my favorite Stanley Kubrick film. Hey, Tony hello there. Thank you for dropping in. And it's okay, man. If you're new to the channel, just hit the like button and also share out the stream if you can. And also participate. I like interacting with my viewers. So moving on to the casting, let me share the screen with the cast for The Shining. I'm going to go over to the window, so I won't be able to really grab the cast, but let me also take care of something over here really quick. So the cast for The Shining, we got Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, Danny Lloyd, uh, Leah Beldman, Scatman Crothers, and Tony Burton, and many, many other people. Now, when it comes to how I measure cast, I measure by how many people I've seen in multiple movies. Now, Jack Nicholson, I have obviously seen in many movies, as I have seen Shelley Duvall in a few other movies. Danny Lloyd only plays in 3 movies. This movie, or The Shining, Doctor Sleep. He has a cameo as one of the spectators at the baseball game. And Scatman Crothers, if you know your Transformers shows from the 80s, folks, Scatman Crothers is Jazz. He's the voice of Jazz. From the movie with Orwell as Unicron to the shows. And they released it even after he passed away. His voice still lived on. So yes, I am aware of Scatman Crothers, as well as I am aware of Tony Burton. Everybody who has seen Rocky or the Rocky movies knows Tony Burton. He played Apollo Creed's friend Duke Evers. So let's give it a count here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yes, I am aware of 5 of these people. And I believe that is it. Now, let's go over to the Dr. Sleep cast. And let's see here. So the Dr. Sleep cast, I am much more aware of Ewan McGregor. Rebecca Ferguson, I am very much aware of her. She played Rose the Hat. Jacob Tremblay, I actually know this kid from another movie, The Predator. As bad as the Predator movie is, this kid is a good actor. This kid is a very, very good actor. I am well aware of Bruce Greenwood, as brief as his part was in this film. Carl Lumley, he plays Dick Halloran because obviously Garrett Carruthers did not live past the 80s. Carl Lumley comes back as Dick Halloran, as the ghost of Dick Halloran, because in the movie, hold on 1 second, folks. Jeez, eye is itching. But as Carl Lumley, I am aware of his involvement with DC movies, as well as the DC shows. He was in Supergirl as John Jones's father. He also is the voice of John Jones in a show or 2 shows that I watched when I was younger, The Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. He is Martian Manhunter's voice. So I am aware of Carl Lumley. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's get rid of that. And Cliff Curtis, 6. Who doesn't know Cliff Curtis, you know? And I had to go even further to Molly Quinn. Now, Molly Quinn is one of the ghosts that Dan Torrance trapped in his mind, put in a box, so to speak. And she is Mrs. Grady, Del Grady's wife, who got hacked to pieces by her husband when her husband went nuts when he was the previous caretaker of the Overlook. Now, I do also know her from Castle, the show, where she played Nate Fillion's daughter. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 to 5 or actually 8-5, because also Danny Lloyd came back for the second movie. So that puts the official count at let's one moment. That puts the official counts or score at 2-0. If I can get the right thing here. Jeez. So yes, the official score now, where story and cast goes to Dr. Sleep. So now we are going to move on to the third category, which is writing. Now, but before we continue to writing, let's catch up with the chat. How would I compare Jack Nicholson's Jack Torrance with his other roles, such as Batman, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Chinatown, Feel Good Man, Deported, Mars Attacks, Ironwood? Jack Nicholson has had a life, folks, where he has played zany, he has played psychotic, he has played a bunch of good roles. His role in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is always going to be interesting. I haven't seen that movie in so many years, but I do remember liking his character. He is one of the best Jokers, top 3 in my opinion. Mars Attacks, Jesus. He gives such a compelling speech that actually makes the freaking aliens look down in shame, and then they just blast his ass because out of sheer boredom. I mean, he is such a great guy. But I really did like Jack Nicholson in Anger Management with Adam Sandler. I was blanking on the name there a moment. So yeah, I think that his portrayal as Jack Torrance, it was his younger years, so I think that he actually did a very good job with it. He played it very freaking well. So yeah, Barry Lyndon is trash, by the way. I have no idea who Barry Lyndon is, Vanya. So okay. He was also in a movie called Wonder. Nice, my man, Dr. Sleep in the lead. Yeah. So moving on to writing. Now, folks, writing, when you are doing writing for a bigger movie like Dr. Sleep, you have to outwardly write a lot of the good or a lot of the story. You have to write more than just the dialogue. You are writing the full story of the film. Where you have a better condensed story with The Shining, you have a more outward writing for Dr. Sleep. So when it does come to the writing, you are that the kid Jacob Tremblay was in that Wonder movie that was from earlier. Oh, it's okay. Thank you for clarifying, Tony. When it comes to the writing, I would say that that slow build harms The Shining. I mean, the writing is good and all. You have that little bit here and there that draws it in, keeps you interested to keep the story going. But you also have a good story that continues from an old story. Old world meets new in Dr. Sleep. And they don't skimp in the horror aspect, folks. When Jacob Tremblay's character in Dr. Sleep, that kid, his acting is so good. He made the actors, who are seasoned actors, some of them, when they were supposed to be killing him and showing joy in their faces as they kill his character, his screaming and stuff and his crying out was so genuine that it made them uncomfortable. So when they write something like that, where it's like this kid is screaming out as he's getting murdered and whatnot, and if the writing is so compelling that it can actually make the actors feel that level of discomfort, where they actually had to do several takes because his acting was just so good and kept on ruining the take, that goes towards the writing. That is a very big boost for the writing for Doctor Sleep. Now, the writing for The Shining is very good in that, or in the fact that they really do a good job at showing the slow degradation and slow possession of Jack Torrance, and how they also write how well little Danny Torrance, how his psychic abilities are manifested in this pretend friend Tony, where he talks like this and moves his finger and whatnot. Those are small little nuances in the writing that are also very good. So when it does come to the writing, both of these movies are written very well. However, I can only pick one. So when it does come to the writing, that boost of Dr. Sleep, acting by Jacob Tremblay, the writing and how he has to scream out while he is being brutally sliced open, and so that they could feed off of his shine, his fear, and whatnot, that really does put the point, or give the point resoundingly to Dr. Sleep. So Dr. Sleep takes the point here, folks. So now we are at 3-0. Now I know that a lot of people are not going to agree with this. It's like, but The Shining is older. It's much more, or it was done by film legend Stanley Kubrick, and it's just unfair to make the comparisons. Life isn't fair, you know. Also, a lot of people said, "Well, Dr. Sleep was woke." How? Honestly, how? I mean, I would really like to know how that movie is woke. Why? Because had an interracial couple, had a black lead character, girl. Not once did I hear any mention of the word or of race in that movie. Not once. At all. So, how? I mean, if you guys can tell me how Dr. Sleep is woke, I will frickin' end this stream right now and say it's woke garbage. It automatically loses. That's how confident I am that you were wrong. But anyway, continuing on. The next category I forgot to put up. Whoops. Effects. Now, we had a lot of practical effects throughout the Shining. You also have a lot of practical effects in Dr. Sleep, as well as digital effects. Digital effects is where this movie, or is where Dr. Sleep is harmed. The digital effects are not that good, especially when they are cycling. The nomadic psychic theater people are cycling where they're dying, essentially. It really is not, or those effects are kind of weird, and they're kind of off-putting in a way, where the practical effects in The Shining, all very good. You have practical effects, not to mention that one shot with the fully nude woman who turns into this crone. I gotta say, that bodysuit that the woman had to wear was actually very well done. And then you also have an older woman playing the same character in Dr. Sleep with the practical effects. She's wearing a full bodysuit in the nude, and she's not nude because that bodysuit is clothed, or is basically clothes. And oh my God, when you're watching the special features of Dr. Sleep, you get a good laugh out of it, because she's walking with the robe on, and she could be at like craft services and that robe would just come undone and she just wouldn't feel it, because, well, the bodysuit is actually what she is clothed in. And so this ugly, nude, decrepit, rotting nude woman is walking around open robed in craft services and other parts of the set. So it's like, holy crap. Yikes, this is discomforting and whatnot. So it's like, yeah, this is kind of weird, you know? So you also have the twins, who are, when they were all hacked up, effects are more than just practical puppetry effects. It's also sorry, I have a loose lash that is taking away my ability to focus. But you also have to deal with makeup effects and and other special effects and whatnot, which includes how a person slowly freezes to death. Now, when you have those, The Shining truly shines. You got good practical effects, but they over rely on digital effects in Doctor Sleep. I mean, when you do that, it tends to harm your film, especially if you are pushing or special effects with with a lower budget. So when it does come to effects, The Shining actually will get its first point, because The Shining had no choice but to rely on practical effects, and in that case, practical effects really do work. I didn't see slips of rubber knives. Where the blade wobbles. I didn't see a wobbly axe when Jack Torrance is chopping down the doors. I didn't see any real problems with the practical effects of The Shining. So moving on to the next category, with The Shining finally got its first point. We are now going to move on to the acting. Now, this is where both of these films truly compete. You got Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, and Scarlett Carruthers as the best actors in The Shining. You have Ewan McGregor and this young newcomer girl, this Kylie, what's her name? What is her name? Well, the girl who plays Abra. You also have Rebecca Ferguson. I think she's actually very good in the movies that I've seen her play in. As well as other characters. Cliff Curtis. I have never seen Cliff Curtis play a bad role. Honestly, I have never seen Cliff Curtis play a bad role. You got excellent acting in both of these films. And so it's very hard for me to essentially measure, because the true measurement comes from the extreme talent in two key scenes. So the key scene two key scenes in The Shining is massively well done with Shelley Duvall, where she is essentially freaking out, where she is essentially terrorized by her husband, where she's swinging the bat at him, telling him to stay away, while he is slowly coming up those stairs saying that he's going to beat her fucking brain in and whatnot, where she is absolutely terrified. Now, the reason why she is terrified like that is because in real life, she's actually freaking terrified. They worked her up to such a degree where her hysteria bled into her performance. And yet she still had the discipline to maintain her lines, even though it was mostly screaming and saying, stay back, and get away from me and whatnot. She still had the ability to bleed that hysteria into her performance, yet maintain enough discipline to actually get the take done. And to be able to hold on to that as they are changing angles, where they're doing it from one shot with behind her and showing Jack Nicholson's character, and then they have to reset, do it all over again to shoot the other side, which is in back of Jack Nicholson shooting or showing her. That, to maintain that level of acting and hysteria, to make it believable that it's the same moment, is very well done. Now, over to Dr. Sleep, where you have to have a character playing another character who is completely oppositely different than them. you have Dan Torrance basically having to possess Abby, or not Abby, but Abra, where he has, or where the actress Kylie has to actually channel Ewan McGregor's character, and she doesn't have, or she can't put her own original take on it. She actually has to take cues of Ewan McGregor. So she actually did that very well. And that's not easy to do, especially if she is a newcomer. Especially if she's young and new to the game, you know? That's actually pretty well done. And the second part of it is also Jacob Tremblay's acting, where his acting made his fellow actors and actresses uncomfortable. That can't be overlooked either. From the writing to this particular piece here, that can't be overlooked. So when it does come to acting, the acting in both of these movies is great, because you also have to look at not just the lead actors and whatnot, because there is a leads category for that. You also have to look at the supporting actors, and the supporting actors in both films. You have to look at the supporting characters of the different ghosts inside of the Overlook, as well as the Overlook itself is a character, much like the Haunting of Hill House. You also have to look at the supporting characters of the True Knot, which is that psychic feeding group in Dr. Sleep, as well as the parents to Abra. Now, let me tell you something, folks. You got great acting on the behest of Abra's father, because boy, he misinterprets it just like any parent would. Going in, starts wailing on freaking Dan Torrance, because it's like, she is 11 years old, you fucking sicko. And it's like, it's not like that, you know? It's absolutely not like that. And then you have Jacob Tremblay, who is the kid getting murdered on screen and sliced open slowly to bleed this kid of his steam, as they call it. And they had to do multiple takes because his acting is so good, a kid's acting is so good, that it made the adult actors uncomfortable. So you have a conundrum here, folks, in the fact that it shows the excellent, superb acting in both of these movies. I mean, Carl Lumbly channels Skerritt Crothers very well. It's almost as if it's the same damn person. And then you also have other side characters. The rest of the True Knot, they weren't that good in their acting, as limited as it was. The Crow, or the man that they called the Crow, or Papa Crow, I thought he actually did very good. But the rest of them, Snakebite Abby, her character is a little bit more prevalent than the rest of them. But honestly, I wouldn't say her acting was as good. It could have been better. Where in the other film, you have much more seasoned actors who all did very good jobs. Even the kid, Danny Lloyd, did a good job playing, or as he is a 5-year-old, reacting how a 5-year-old would react in these certain situations. So yes, the superb acting from both of these films. You have excellent acting in Dr. Sleep. However, the hysteria bleeding out into the performance of Shelley Duvall does give The Shining its next point. Folks, as much as, I mean, I'm sorry, the way, or Shelley Duvall truly shined in The Shining, with the way that her terror bleeds into the performance, which allows that to be actually believable. You know? I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Now, going to leads. Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, and Danny Lloyd. Danny Lloyd wouldn't go on really to do much else after or besides this movie and Doctor Sleep, and plus one other obscure thing that I can't remember the name of. Where you have Rebecca Ferguson, Ewan McGregor, sorry, blanked on his name, and the young girl Kylie. I'm not aware of much of what Kylie has done outside of Doctor Sleep. So Rebecca Ferguson and Ewan McGregor comparing, and then you have Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall. Now, Scarlett Crothers can also come in as a lead, as yes, he was support, but he is also more well known. However, it is unfair to do that. So when it does come to both of these movies, you have two leads that are well known, and or the other lead that isn't well known. So how do you compare? Well, you compare how well these act or the talent acted, as well as how well known they are. I know Shelley Duvall in a couple of movies here and there, where I know Jack Nicholson through at least 4 or 5 movies. Rebecca Ferguson, I know through like 2 or 3 movies. Ewan McGregor, I've seen him in franchises. Now, it is unfair to put Ewan McGregor in 1, 2, 3 Star Wars movies. So the Star Wars prequel franchise, yes, I know him from the Disney stuff that they did too, as well as another movie that I've seen him in, Brassed Off, as well as Doctor Sleep. So I know him very well. So basically, so now we are essentially tied even again. But when it does come to acting quality, I am more aware of the people from The Shining. So, editing it to the next, or to update the scoreboard, we are at a tie of 3-3. So now we are moving on to a little thing called the budget. But before we do, let's catch up, or music score rather, not the budget. Oops. Fucking brain, folks. So let's get back to this. We have a few more comments. Orange Hat, how do you feel about the analysis on The Shining, ranging from Ghost versus Cabin Fever, the 1912 photograph, and Native Americans? I don't know anything about that, Neozoic. Sorry. Barry Lyndon does suck. I can review it right now. Nap time. Who is Barry Lyndon? It must be a film. But I understand, since it's not everyone's cup of tea. Okay. To be fair, both slow pace and fast pace have their pros and cons. Yes, they do. However, you have to have a slow paced movie give or have a fully beautiful payoff. Unfortunately, you don't really have that in The Shining. Rebecca Ferguson, showing, right? She's very well, yeah. How do you feel? Stanley Kubrick has a lot of people say how he was abusive. Yes. Or yes, he was, but was not talked about is Shelley Duvall showed up multiple times drunk on set and was very unprofessional, and Stanley Kubrick lost. Huh. Or lost it. Well, then, that only added to the quality of the acting. I mean, what would you do if you were being terrified on set? I'd probably fucking drink too. Now, if she has a drinking problem, that could also be a problem too. However, her performance was very fucking good, despite the background drama. How would you compare Ewan McGregor's Danny Torrance with his other roles, such as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Black Hawk Down, never seen it, Train Spotting, never seen it. Big Fish, very good movie. Christopher Robin, saw a little bit of it. Ghost Rider, didn't see it. Moulin Rouge, refused to see. Brastoff was actually very was also a good movie. I thought that he did a good job. Also in what's that? Freaking Angels and Demons. He played the El Camerlingo. So yeah, I think that his portrayal as Danny Torrance is actually one of his best portrayals. He does a really good job in it. And don't get me wrong, he does a very good job as prequels Obi-Wan Kenobi. Disney Obi-Wan Kenobi, he sucks. I'm sorry. The writing and directing of the Kenobi show was fucking terrible. It wouldn't have been what happened in the show, you know? So she did have a drinking problem, and that's why she has the issues she has today. Well, shit comes up or catches up to you, son. You know? Yeah. Obi-Wan Kenobi, the son of the Joker. Yeah, right? So moving on to our next, which is music and score. Now, folks, music and score. You have that very iconic score of The Overlook, which also is used in Dr. Sleep. So I can't really compare the scores here. The scores are the same. However, music was also used as a cue in The Shining. So that does edge out The Shining just a little bit more than Dr. Sleep. So because you have the cues and then they mislead you in such a way that it makes you drop your guard and then boom, something happens. But yes, The Shining gets music and score. Where in Dr. Sleep, yes, the score is the same. However, it doesn't have that. It doesn't go beyond that. They don't use the score as a cue for certain elements that happen, you know? So yes, The Shining actually is now in the lead. Now, folks, again, we have two more categories here. And believe me, it's a close call still. So we are going to go to budget right now. And let's see here. What was the budget for The Shining? I'm guessing it was like $5 million or some shit like that. Let's see here. The Shining's budget was 15 to 19, or basically 15 to 19 million dollars. It's actually pretty good. So let me bring it up here for you folks. Now, 15 to 19 million for the budget, and the box office was 47.3 million. So that's actually pretty successful for its time. Now let's look at Dr. Sleep. Share this one instead. With a budget of, or this one got 72 million or 72.3, but what was its budget? Oops. $45 million. So, when it does come to comparison, The Shining made over twice his budget. When it comes to Dr. Sleep, well, I'd say that falls short of making its or doubled the budget. So The Shining takes the point on budget. So now we are at director. Now I need to do some looking up on this Mike Flanagan guy. Director, Dr. Sleep. Mike Flanagan. Okay, so what is Mike Flanagan known for in Dr. Sleep? Now, before while I keep doing this, right now the score stands at 5 to The Shining, Dr. Sleep 3. So, IMDb. What is this guy known for? Because I know a bunch of films, haven't seen all of them, but I do know that Kubrick is well known. So, what is he known for? Fall of the House of Usher, 4 episodes. Midnight Mass, TV miniseries. Doctor Sleep, The Haunting of Hill House, TV miniseries. Do you believe that those all got critical acclaim? Let's see here before I wake. Hush. I do believe I've seen Hush. Absentia. These are not very, or Ouija, Origin of Evil. So he is essentially one of those people that does, or really likes to stick to the paranormal. So, yeah, this guy is a go-to for horror movies. Kubrick is a go-to for much more range and whatnot. So when it comes to the director, Kubrick, or who would I prefer to watch between Mike Flanagan and or between Mike Flanagan and Kubrick? Again, Kubrick is, or folks, I say this with all respect, Kubrick is a very slow burn. It's hard to watch his films sometimes because sometimes I will fall asleep watching his films, as good as they are. So when it comes to director, Dr. Sleep gets it, or gets the point. Now, folks, unfortunately, out of the 9, The Shining wins from an objective scale, meaning you are going through all of these categories, all 9 of these categories, and finding out which of these movies wins. Me personally, I like Dr. Sleep better than I like The Shining. From a subjective standpoint, I give The Shining a 9 out of 10, where or I give Dr. Sleep a 9 out of 10, where The Shining I give more of a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. The Shining is much more of a slow build. It has terrible editing. And you know what? Now that I bring that up, I am going to add a new band or a new category. So we are not done yet here, folks. Editing. And it will go in between writing and effects for now on. So we are actually not done here, folks, because I actually do believe that editing is an important function to objective review. This fight isn't over yet. To be completely honest, that is, or an objective standard, or editing is an objective standard. When you have a movie, or and you got to look how well, I mean, do these cuts really throw you off? Do they mesh well with, or with transitioning into another scene? When you look at movies, you got to be able to look at, well, do they really do that? Now, back in the 70s and 80s, they have what's known as a blunt transition to a next scene, wherein, or Star Wars actually didn't do that because George Lucas had a creative way of wiping over to another scene. In The Shining, you had those blunt cuts, those blunt transitions to another scene, and the score and music just hits you very suddenly. That can really kind of make you jump in your seat a little bit and kind of really throw you off. So I am, just by the way, folks, I am not doing this because I do like Dr. Sleep better. I'm literally doing this because it's something that actually I should have been doing in my previous streams. So when it does come to editing, you have a better, more fluid transitioning from scene to scene. So yes, there is no clear winner in the film because The Shining and Dr. Sleep are now actually tied. So now it does come down to personal preference. Me, personally, I prefer Dr. Sleep. I like Dr. Sleep better than I like The Shining. So I do feel that Dr. Sleep is the far more superior movie due to the fact that I find that I'm not falling asleep watching it. The pacing, so in order to do the a really, or another category, because we can't have an even number of categories. We have to have an odd number of categories. We will have now 11 categories. Pacing. How well does a movie go? And that will also go with that will actually all right, now where to go? Pacing and editing. All right. So yes, I am adding pacing here. So when it does come to things like pacing, The Shining also loses out. So yes, I do prefer Dr. Sleep, but it's also because of things like the pacing. So Dr. Sleep, by a point, these movies are pretty freaking even, folks. But by a point, Dr. Sleep actually does win. Now, folks, again, it may look like I'm just trying to create things to make sure that Dr. Sleep wins. That is not the case. Believe it or not, originally, if I hadn't thought of these things from an objective standpoint, The Shining, a movie that is objectively worse than Dr. Sleep, would have won. And I just don't see how it's possible that a movie that is objectively worse, with bad editing, bad pacing, albeit good director, sure, but and better budget, better leads, better acting, better effects, better editing, or not better editing, but better writing and whatnot, sure. However, this was a close one to call. But when it does come to that, Doctor Sleep is the better film. It had a more expansive story. You had better acting, you had even acting in both of these films. Very good acting in both of these films. However, The Shining does edge out due to Shelley Duvall. Although Jacob Tremblay, damn, that kid could act. Especially when he's making his other actors who are seasoned adults uncomfortable. But when it comes to the pacing and editing, Dr. Sleep shines. Dr. Sleep shines. Shine on, Dr. Sleep. Yeah, I can't believe you. I'm sorry, Vanya. When it does come to it, or you really should be paying attention now, because Dr. Sleep actually won. And it's not because I wanted it to win, folks. I'm looking at this from objective quality. I can't allow my bias to be put in here. But from objective quality, Dr. Sleep is the better movie. It has a better pace. Even an extended edition that is like 20 minutes longer, it has a better pace. It sucks, or its special effects suck. Its practical effects are good. But honestly, I think that or from an objective standpoint, when you have scene progression and transition, editing is important. To have a blunt next scene like that, it almost feels like a physical impact. It's not ever good. You need something that helps transition the scene to another scene, like a screen wipe, or a fade in, or a fade out, or a bleed in, or a bleed out. You need something like that. Unfortunately, Stanley Kubrick didn't do that. So yes, there are times where in my this playlist alone, in my streams, I will come up with new ones, not simply to add credence to whatever one I want to win, because honestly, it's not, or I'm doing these without a script. So these are things I should have thought of beforehand, however, didn't. So I thought of them on the fly. It's like, shoot, man, I got to be thinking about editing and pacing. So yes, I will be discussing in the future those other categories. So again, Dr. Sleep wins over The Shining by 1 point. 11 out of the 11 categories, Dr. Sleep comes out on top by 1 point. It's a close call. Both films are freaking products of their time and very good. However, Dr. Sleep edges out. And yes, I do prefer Dr. Sleep, but that is from a subjective standpoint. I can enjoy watching both of these movies. So getting back to the chat, how would I compare to late Scat Crothers or Scatman Crothers, Dick Halloran, with his other roles such as Transformers, Jazz? I don't know anything else beyond him as Jazz and him as Dick Halloran. So, yeah, I can't really make that comparison, Vanya. As for Shelley Duvall, I can't answer this one. I thought she did very good as Olive Oil and Popeye. I haven't seen those other movies now that I think of it, but I do remember her from Popeye. I thought she did very good as Popeye. So, yeah, folks, as much, or this is one of those, holy crap, I can't believe I didn't think about it stream. And unfortunately, this stream is tainted because I did end up picking the movie that I like better. However, that is, in my opinion, coincidental as well as objectively coincidental, because honestly, it's not that I didn't pick them simply for convenience. I picked them simply because they are part of an objective standard of measuring a film's quality. So I do kind of, or what kind of reviewer would I be if I didn't add in as many categories as possible to measure the full quality of a film, you know? It just happens to coincide with the movie that I like better winning. Because the original ending of this would have been, yes, The Shining won because I didn't look at all of the objective qualities of a film. And yet I would have preferred, or yet I still prefer Dr. Sleep. Sorry. It literally, I had a mental block here, folks. Sorry about that. So thank you to everybody coming in. Vanya, Junebug, Conroy, Tony, and Neozoic. Next week, before you all go, is Jesus Christ, Clash of the Titans with Sam Worthington versus Wrath of the Titans. Both horrendously bad movies, but part of the same of the ones versus twos. So I do believe that is the next one. So let me actually look at it. Tuesday. So yes, next week is Clash of the Titans versus Wrath of the Titans. And thank you to everybody again in the chat. If you want to support everything, check or make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Tonight I will be on the Barroom Podcast with Society Reviews and the others to discuss the Hollywood craziness and refine my ability to be blunt. So yeah, folks. Thank you all who tuned in. Vanya, Tony, Junebug, Conroy, Neozoic. You guys are all freaking awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all tomorrow night on Jade Shadow's channel or on Society Reviews channel tonight. Anyway, folks, this has been Orange Hat. Y'all have a wonderful day. Stay humble.